Welcome in, everybody. It is a special edition of Fill in the Blanks. I got my boy Jarvis Davis here. As always, I'm Tenitra Batiste, and we are T minus 3 days away from Falcons kickoff of the 2020 season. But of course, the kickoff for the NFL season is tonight. So we wanted to stop in and kind of say what's up to you guys on the kickoff of a season that maybe 7 or 8 weeks ago, we weren't really sure we were going to see, right?
Yeah, that's been the thing. Like, I think I got a chance to ask Dan Quinn about it the other day, and when you just really think about what this country was faced with, and the fact that we are sitting here at September the 10th,
Yes.
talking about a game that's coming up on Sunday, and to go back to when the first instance of sports being affected by the
Yes.
pandemic and Rudy Gobert getting coronavirus and the
March
NBA
12th.
essentially said to March 12th, like never forget that date, right? So here we are, here we are 6 months later, and we're like, oh wow, we're talking about actual football games. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, with some no fans being in the
Caveat.
stands and a
Right.
lot of protocols. If I hear that word
Hmm.
one more time, I'm gonna scream.
I
And the new
know.
norm, I think the new norm is a buzzword that I want to go ahead
Protocol,
and
you
demolish
know,
and
trigger,
throw in the trash because I'm tired of hearing that phrase. But yeah,
trigger.
it's just amazing. Yeah, very triggered. But to be in this place right now, I'm super excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what this team's going to do this year. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really amazing because you and I have had our first sort of, I'm going to try to find a different word, guys, because I don't want to trigger Jarvis. But we have like, we had a test run. You had your test run last week. I had my test run the week before with scrimmage games for the Falcons. And so far, so good as far as being able to get through some of those new procedures. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It is very, I'll say labor intensive, if you will, when you're doing it for the first time, but we've gotten it under our belt. So at least we kind of know what to expect on Sunday because
Right.
we'll be a part of the team bringing you Falcons coverage for our station. You guys know we work for 92.9 The Game. But listen, one thing we want to just touch on before we get into a deep dive on football, because we know you guys want to talk Falcons, is a wild, wild
That was a
Wednesday.
football score last night. That was a football score.
It was
29 to what, 5? I mean 29 to
29. It was crazy.
oh
29
man.
to 9. The
29 to 9.
wildest of Wednesdays for the Braves to end what wasn't necessarily the best homestand, but certainly with them battling it out with the Phillies and Marlins down to the wire. We're about 15 games out right now to the end of the baseball
Coming down
season
the
that
home
we
stretch. Yeah.
also, yeah, well, that we were also surprised to actually see come to fruition. So yeah, Jarvis, just 29 to 9. It's like the Braves bats, man, it's like when they are cold, they're cold. They'll get shut out 8-0, or maybe it's just the pitcher 6-0 that everybody had been talking about for the Marlins. But then when they get hot, white hot, on fire, because the stat line that blew me away, and there were so many stat lines that could have blown you away, so many historical pieces there, but to get 29 runs and 7 home runs off just 23 hits, whoa.
Yeah, when you think about it though, like think about the guys that went off last night. You talk about a guy like Adam Duvall and what he was
Yeah.
going for three home runs and just being that guy with 9 RBIs, I believe he
Yeah.
had. So it's just all of those things is just like wow, like this is a team that the bats can carry this team if they are able to get some production from the pitching staff. So
Yeah.
that's what makes it. I think it even sheds some more light onto what this pitching staff isn't. About the guys that they are rolling out right now. Obviously,
Yeah.
Max Free is on the 10-day IL
Hmm.
and waiting for him to come back. There's a
Yeah.
possibility Cole Hamels maybe making an appearance sometime soon. So
Yeah. We'll get a
it's
cold
a
hammer
lot.
sighting supposedly.
Supposedly. So, and that's the thing that you hope for. But it, I know for me, I'm excited about what happened, but it kind of just sheds more light on the issues that the Braves have now
Yeah.
that could possibly hinder them from possibly winning the World Series.
Yeah, because you're still very aware of the 8-0 shutout the day before. If you've been watching, to your point, the team struggles with the pitching rotation throughout the season, ever since, of course, Soroka went down and now with Fried on the IL. There was one little nugget that kind of got overlooked, like you said, when you have, well, I would say two nuggets. And when you have Duvall getting 3 home runs and a grand slam and 9 RBI. And then you have Freddie Freeman with his 1,500 hit and him getting 6 RBIs as well. And, of course, Ronald Acuna back with a vengeance. Even Ozzy Albies really
coming back. Yeah.
Over a month since we've seen him. So it's good to see him come back to the lineup. And it was good to see him get that home run and just, for us to see that he really is back in business. But I thought, wow, underlining all of those home runs, you did have that of Freddie Freeman, just the most reliable of reliables. In addition to his home run, of course, he had a couple hits in the game. And then you look at the fact that even last week, Marcell Ozuna was the NL Player of the Week. And, he ripped things apart. Yeah. So you're thinking about that. And like you said, Jarvis, it makes you confident that the bats can carry you when it needs to. And even there was one bright spot with Bryce Wilson, who only gave up 4 hits last night. And I think about 4 innings, which was great, just to be able to make sure there wasn't like continuous bleeding from Tommy Milone or anybody else. But still, in terms of
going gave up 8 runs, by the way.
8 runs in less innings and fewer innings than Bryce Wilson pitched last night. And you look at that and you say to yourself, that's where your pause comes in, because as they're traveling to DC today to kick off a 10-game road trip that starts with a 4-game series with the Nats, you simply do not know what you're going to get out of Robbie Erlin tonight. You don't know what you're going to get out of the rest of the pitching staff across the road trip period. So yeah, exciting, weird, odd. You look at the score, Jarvis, and you say, boy, we hope we see 29 posted at the Benz on Sunday, right?
Right, exactly. Like if you get 29 points on Sunday at Mercedes-Benz, like they'll probably get, be in line for a W. That's for sure. So and that's the thing that's the excitement, the more excitement that bleeds through my soul right now. Just wanted to see what this team is going to be like, because we already know the issues that they had coming in or have had coming in for the past few years is running game. Talking about big pass rush, getting to the quarterback. It's been the same old song for the past couple of years, and the results have exemplified that. When going 7-9 in back-to-back years. So when you think about what is on the line right now, Dan Quinn's job is on the line. I assume Thomas Dimitrov's job is on the line. We don't know that. Arthur Blank might separate those two now. You don't hear the whole co-team builders anymore. So I think right now it's just so many things that are just out there that are questions and anticipation, all those things that come to mind when you think about this Atlanta Falcons team, and they are going up against a team that they are very familiar with.
Yeah, very familiar with. And, you make a good point about starting fast. And let's talk about what that looks like on offense. So starting fast for the Falcons, whether you talk about coming out of the gates with an actual W to start the season, or whether you talk about starting out fast in the red zone, because of course that was a challenge for them last year. Getting to the red zone was one thing. Capitalizing on it with 7 points was a totally different animal. In fact, you look back at the stat line for the game, and they definitely made it a game against the Seahawks last year with the 27-20 loss, but the Seahawks scored 21 points in the second quarter. And so you look at, and in that same quarter, the Falcons only scored 3 points, and I believe 3 points in the first quarter as well. So you look at the need to really, really come out fast and make that statement so that you can keep up with the likes of Russell Wilson and, the Seahawks offense. So what is it that we are looking for in terms of, like you said, we start off with the run game, like establishing the run game is going to be critical, but there are a couple other things that we need to see in order for them to be productive on offense, in order for them to establish the run game. We need the O-line to be all that the O-line can be. I think one thing that Dirk Cutter said earlier this week when he was asked about a successful season. His response was a successful season would be for the Falcons offense to play up to the level of talent. And I couldn't agree more. But what does that actually look like for the O-line? An O-line that has some questions, especially on that left side.
Yeah, well, I think what that looks like is consistency. I think consistency is the key, and being that looking like James Carpenter is going to be the starter. Obviously, Matt Hennessey's been dealing with some injury issues coming in training camp, so there's a possibility that James Carpenter may get the majority of those snaps. And when you look at his issues, is him being healthy, one, and then two is penalties. Yeah, you got to cut down on the dumb penalties, the holding calls, or the jumping off sides. All of those things that comes into play when you're talking about playing up to the level of talent. When Cutter says that, that means there are no mistakes being made, because if you don't make any mistakes, you don't shoot yourself in the foot. More than likely, that talent level is going to show, and you're going to be able to put points on the board. So I think that consistency is the key, and don't make any stupid mistakes.
Yeah, and I think you hit on one thing, which of course it's an X factor that nobody can account for until you actually get into game day situations. And you're absolutely right. That is the fact of health. And we've seen little bits and pieces here and there this training camp that have been concerning, like you said, with Matt Hennessey in particular on the offensive side, in terms of thinking, okay, obviously he was drafted as a center to be the ultimate replacement for Alex Mack, but we knew he could be versatile. And so once we saw that Jamon Brown was gone, and you're thinking, okay, well, we know James Carpenter has had his challenges with injuries. Okay, next up is Matt Hennessey. Boy, he's getting a lot of reps in practice and everything, and looking, fairly decent when we go to the scrimmage game. And then all of a sudden, gosh darn, that knee situation, as you mentioned, comes up. So yeah, I think for the Falcons, even on defense, and we'll get to that in a second, but man, injuries have really been, just that X factor for them that has hampered them almost before they could get out of the gates. I know last season was like a true anomaly, but you even take that back to the season before, that's been a serious challenge for them. But I agree, Jarvis, when you think about Calvin Ridley, you think about Julio Jones, Todd Gurley, Matt Ryan, all of that talent, and so much growth that we've seen from Russell Gage at the third receiver position. And yeah, if the talent plays up to the level they're capable of playing up to, there's no reason that with execution of a game plan that Dirk Cutter's now going into year 2 in, there's no reason that we should not see execution from the beginning of the game all the way through.
And also to add on top of that, we have to say that I think Dirk Cutter, there's a level of accountability that needs to fall in his lap as well. It's not just the talent. It's also game planning, is what you talked about. It's also putting your players in the right position to be successful. And that's not having Matt Ryan drop back 80 times a game and throwing a football. So, and he's been, and we know you covered Dirk Cutter down when he was down there in Tampa. He is a pass happy dude. That's just how he is. That's just who he is. And we've also learned that coming into this season is that when the Falcons are still running that Kyle Shanahan offense. Well, they like to call it the Falcons offense, but we all know where it came from. It's a Kyle Shanahan's offense. So you know that when it comes to Cutter coming in last year, his first year, having to translate some of those things, because a lot of times offenses aren't that different. It's just the language, and being able to communicate with Matt about what he likes and what he wants to be able to do, and Matt telling him, okay, here's what I was really successful at last year, and before he came, or when Kyle was here in my MVP season. So I think that them being able to translate all of those things and communicate back and forth with each other in that second year. We always seen that. I call it the Matt Ryan bump, right? Because
Yeah.
he's had so many offensive coordinators. It seems like
Yeah.
okay, in that second year, he's always made that bump. So
Yes.
hopefully, we see that Matt Ryan bump in year two of the Dirk Cutter / Kyle Shanahan / Falcons offense.
Yeah. And speaking of, I would say a year two, but I guess a full year one that we're excited to see. Of course, we'll talk injuries on this side of the ball too, because it's
Hmm.
reality. But I'm
Oh
really
yeah.
excited to see what we're going to see out of a full year one and kind of a year two of Raheem Morris being over the defense. I think that we talk all the
Hmm.
time about, the O line and what's going on with them, but we're going to need to see a strong performance from the D line as well. We need to see them win at the line of scrimmage on Sunday. We talked about it a couple days ago, and you and I, of course, were out at Flowery Branch just yesterday. And one of the biggest things is with someone like a Russell Wilson, you're not going to keep him contained completely because he's the guy who A, has the ability to stay in the pocket, B, has the ability to scramble, get outside of the pocket, hold a ball until the very last second, and you don't know where he's going to go in that last second. But if you can get him off of his rhythm, then you've got a chance. So looking at and I'll start with where to me it starts and stops with Grady Jarrett, looking
Hmm.
at what his group is going to be able to do out there on Sunday, that's going to be so critical. And the reason I start with them, Jarvis, is because I know that we have talked a lot about the secondary who had, an amazing training camp for the Falcons. They really, really did. But ultimately speaking, it's really going to boil down to that pass rush and just being able to get Russell Wilson off of his game early and often.
Yeah, and that's the thing to kind of start with the whole Grady Jarrett's piece. I think the
Mm-hmm.
defensive line is really clear what the Seattle wants to do on
Yeah.
offense.
Yes.
Um, I know in their Super Bowl years, it was a lot of running the football,
Running.
being able to
Yeah.
establish that
Yeah.
run, and being
Yeah.
that tough, gritty team.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of morphed into kind of like a pass happy offense because they haven't been
Yeah.
able to find the consistency at the running back position since
Right.
Marshawn Lynch left, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of teams would be hard pressed to try to find a guy like that
Yes.
again, a Hall of
Mm-hmm.
Fame type running back. Yes, I said that, Hall of Fame type running back.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, so when you have a team coming in like that, I think the first thing on in a guy like Ray Jarrett's mind or Raheem Morris's mind, like you're gonna have to be able to stop the run. You want to
Yes.
make them one dimensional
You do.
because if you know what a team is going to do offensively
Mm-hmm.
before the ball is snapped, whether they be they're down or they just can't run the football, that
Mm-hmm.
makes life a lot easier for defensive linemen because it's in their minds like, all right, I'm peeling back and I'm going. I'm not even thinking
Yeah.
twice about what they're going to run. I already know
Mm-hmm.
what type of play they're going to run, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get ready to be able to rush the passer.
Yeah.
And if the Falcons are able to do that, the Seattle Seahawks offensive line has been putrid.
Yeah.
At times they've
Yeah.
allowed a lot of sacks. Russell Wilson has had to be Houdini, as I
Mm-hmm.
affectionately like to refer to him as. He has to
Mm-hmm.
pull plays out his behind sometimes because he's getting so much pressure
Yes.
from whether it be having a tight end at tackle, or just guys who just are incapable of protecting him the way he needs to be protected. So
Mm-hmm.
Grady Jarrett, Tyler Davison, those
Yes.
guys have to be solid up the middle of the
Mm-hmm.
defense, and Tack McKinley
Yes.
and Dante Fowler. Those guys
Fowler
gonna
is,
have to be
yeah.
on point as well. Not only
Yeah.
on the pass, and once they pass, drop back to pass, but they're gonna have to be a stout
Mm-hmm.
against the run as well because Chris Carson is coming. They're gonna
Yeah.
run him, so they
Yeah.
definitely should be up to the task because of the incapabilities of their Seahawks offensive line.
Yeah, and I want to talk about Dante Fowler and Keanu Neal and Darquez Denard. Those are like three that I want to kind of hit on as well, but in kind of a different space. So maybe I'll hold that for a second. But yeah,
Hmm.
I think you're absolutely right. Dante Fowler to me is going to be so very critical in the success of the D line on not just Sunday, but throughout the entire season. But also good to see Keanu Neal back and see what he's going to be able to do. Obviously, um, he's one of those kind of, I don't know, when I look at him, I kind of see a hybrid, and like you said, don't want to use a cliche type word, but he really is like a Grady Jarrett, just in terms of being able to affect everything in and around the field. His versatility, he's also kind of refined his game. He talked about that just in terms of what the rule changes were last year, and trying to just continue to refine what it is that he's able to do. But good to see him back as well, and excited to see what he's going to do. Obviously, this is also a good opportunity, because we know Raheem Morris was talking about this as well. You're seeing now at least Isaiah Oliver in year number 3. You've got someone like AJ Terrell, when we talk secondary, who doesn't look like, and when we say doesn't look the part of a rookie, just meaning he's one who doesn't make the same mistake twice, and he picks up on everything so very quickly. So you're kind of excited about what you're going to see out there as well. And you're excited about what you're going to see with the safeties, whether they use 2 safeties or 3 safeties in, different packages. But I also like what Darqueze Dennard is going to bring to the table as well. So I'm interested to see all of what we've seen throughout the training camp, we're going to be able to see executed come Sunday.
Yeah, and Keanu Neal is an interesting piece too, because like we already know how important he is to this defense, because he is a guy that can get the ball out off the receiver. Whether that be by his his shoulder pass, or is he stripping the ball out and taking the ball away. So we know that he is an important piece or turn the ball over, because the Falcons had only 15 interceptions last year, and we all know 28 sacks. They were just at the bottom of the barrel as far as those plays, those big plays that can change the momentum of a game. Like those type of plays are the plays that you need in order to be able to put the ball back into his hands. So if you want to put some more points on the board, where the offense doesn't have to drive the ball 70 or 75 yards every time they get on the field. So those are the things that kind of have the offense and defense working in conjunction with each other. So Keanu is that type guy. So to have him back, whether or not he's 100% or not, we shall see. We shall see. And I think that with him coming back and having a guy like Darqueze Dennard, a veteran coming in playing in that nickel position, I think that's going to be very important as well. And with Kendall Sheffield, that's an interesting piece as well, because you think about how DBs are needed. Like, you need corners. You can't have enough corners on a team that can actually cover. And I think Kendall Sheffield is a guy that they've been dependent on, and they know what his potential is and what he could be as a player in the NFL. So I think that if somehow he can, hopefully this injury isn't something that's that lingers. I think if it does, I think the Falcons may be in trouble when it comes to that passing game, because you have a guy like Isaiah Oliver, in which we pretty much know what he is or who he is as a player. And Kendall Sheffield is somebody that we've seen the potential. We see the speed.
We've seen flashes.
We've seen flashes, and to possibly lose a guy like that, at least in the first game, possibly. We don't know for sure. I think that it's definitely concerning. It's something to keep an eye on too, going into Sunday.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking about earlier, the fact that that's one of those X factors where we just keep seeing these little pieces here and there that keep lingering, like we saw with Hennessey, like we saw yesterday with Sheffield, like we've seen with Marlon Davidson, because we still don't know what we're going to get out of him as well, with him just truly returning back to practice this week with Matt Hennessey. So that'll be interesting too, whether or not, to your point, Jarvis, that you have the personnel on the field on both sides of the ball who can actually do what you need them to do. So, but anyway, those are our keys to the game. That it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting to see what the Falcons will be able to do when they host the Seahawks on Sunday. Be fun tonight. I'm going to check out Chiefs Texans. Definitely excited about.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely
Get
excited
those
about that.
fantasy football teams ready. Like I'm getting nervous and stuff, man. I'm like, I don't supposed to be getting nervous about fantasy football, man. What is
I
this?
know,
But
man. I decided
gotta
not to tap in today. I'm not
I'm
tapping in
trying to
this
dwindle the
weekend.
teams down as we speak.
Yeah,
Trying
yeah,
to get the two. I'm trying to get the two. Trying to figure that out. But
yeah.
we're definitely gonna be locked in tonight for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So anyway, guys, listen, follow us. Take the ride with us this entire season. We're going to be talking Falcons. Jarvis and I are going to be
Yes.
covering all the home games, but definitely we're going to keep you updated and we're going to keep you in the loop and in the know because you know what? There's only so many eyes and ears at Flowery because coronavirus is still real, people. And there are only so many eyes and ears at the Bend. So you're going to need these eyes. You're going to need those eyes. You're going to need these ears so that you can know what the home team is up to and whether or not the home team is going to, in a very competitive NFC South, if they're going to be able to finally make their way back to the big game. So for Jarvis Davis, who's at Jarvis D90, for me, I'm at Tenitra Batiste. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter at _ fill in the blanks or Instagram at fill in the blanks. Check us out. We'll be back at our regular time on next Tuesday at 4, and we will debrief all about the Falcons. Be safe, everybody.
Subscribe to our YouTube page, and we're on Spotify, so that means we're legit. We're not just some fly-by-night podcast.
No
We are
Tommy
legit
Tube socks
people.
in the basement here. We are legit. Jarvis made us legit, everybody. Thank you.
Indeed. 4:00 Tuesday. Y'all check us out. Peace.
Check it out, people. Enjoy. Football's back.